Okay, I think we are live. I will give everyone a second. I will test my settings because, of course, something went wrong when I pressed go live button. But okay, okay. I think we are good. I think we are good. We are good. Hello. Okay. Hi, Sue. So we are live in two spots at once. One is my YouTube channel. Second one is Belinda's group. I will give you a link in 1 second. It's a really cool group. If you are a fan slash follower of Bella's works and lines, it's a perfect space to share your artworks, ask questions. Bella is always on top of the stuff. She's checking the notifications, comments. Oh, sorry. Shoot, shut up, phone. Okay, phone is quiet. I will just put the plug in so it will not disturb us anymore. How many cables? How many more cables I can have? Okay, done. Okay, perfect. Perfect, because I want to see the comments, and in studio, the comments from the group shows without your names on. That's why I want to put it on my phone as well. Okay, let's see the comments. Oh, whoa. Okay, now I see you. Hi, Sam. Hello, Fabiola. It's Olga, not Belinda. Hello, Antje. Hi, Aga. Okay, so now I can see the comments. Sorry, you will see my phone in the frame because otherwise I will see nothing. But maybe not. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. And hello, Monica and Sue. Okay, so today, because there was really interesting question, and that's I did the live in that topic, but I did it only in Polish, and there were a couple of questions about the using of the particularly Belinda's soft molds, those molds, this mold, I will show you in 1 second, those fabulous texture molds. And I'm sure that I have them handy. Yeah. Especially the ones from the new release. We have, sorry, two really cool molds. And a fun thing about them is that you can use, Bella call it, innie and outie. That means you can use them on that part that it's a little bit, you know which side is right, which one is left, because the right side, the side that is intended to use the mold, is a little bit deeper, and you can see the border around, but with those you can flip them around and use also the other side. And the thing with using them, if you use resin, it's quite easy to pull off the entire texture as the one piece and then use it on your make. Like here, I grabbed resin, I just pour it quite thinly, and I have beautiful texture that I can work on. But there is a question: can we do it with clay? And yes, we can. We can. So here I just painted brown. Wait, because I have speckle here. Sorry, those are my candies. This is my Christmas candy jar. And I use that mold here on the top. And you can see that the pattern is very visible. Before I painted, I left it for dry. You can use the heat gun as well. And here I went ahead and I did the whole jar with that fade, with that texture impression fade. And then I used the gold foil on top. So I did the sides and I did the top. And using clay over resin have that advantage that it's easy to mold, a little bit more accessible, and if you have to cut out, like here I have the opening, I have the window. If you need to cut it out, you don't have to warm it, cut it, warm it, shape it. You just place it on your object and then you just cut it apart. I also used it here in the background in my Christmas ornament. I put it apart, especially for you guys. And again, it was foiled and it gives you the option of shaping it to the surface. The clay that I will be using today, I like heavy clay, like for example, dust clay or Creole, doing dry, the clays that have some weight to them. From the light clays, I like this one. It's not Stamperia one. Stamperia one, in my opinion, is too crumbly to get the result that I want in the way that I want. And I have here some clay that I pre-conditioned, and by condition I mean if you open the fresh packet of clay, it will be very, especially ones like dust clay, the heavy clays. They are all air drying, and you can all set them all with the heat gun. Wait. There is a question. Yeah, no question. Just everyone say hello still. So by conditioning, I mean you have to play with the clay for a moment. Freshly opened new packet, it will be a little bit too soft, so it's good to leave it for a little bit of air dry, so it will be not so sticky. Those clays will leave a little bit residue on your hands, and before we will go in our mold, we will prep the mold. So and wait, I will just open the fresh packet as well, because I don't have enough clay here to run both of them, because we need a little bit more clay than you actually need to fill the mold. You need a little bit. It's better to have the access of the clay than to try to fill it in afterwards, because that will get messy for sure. Okay, I will open the fresh packet and you can see what I'm talking about with clay being too fresh. Look how sticky it is and how much residue it leaves on my hand. I don't know if you can see that this one already, when I smush it, it starts to crack a little bit. This one is not cracking, it's just smooshing around. So we will take a little bit of this one and leave it for a second. And you will also need a non-sticky surface. I have the non-sticky craft mat. Okay, let's put the clay in the box, because otherwise it will dry on me, and I hate to waste the product. So yeah, I will just knead it for a second in my hands to make sure that, yeah, And without any cover, without anything, I will just leave it on the side. And for my texture fades, some people like to use cornstarch or baby powder or talc in their mold. I actually don't get the best results like that. Probably it is possible, but I'm afraid that I would find it quite stressful and annoying. And the powder will get absorbed in any kind of clay quite fast. You can also go without absolutely anything, but then I would recommend to put your clay in the mold and pop it into the freezer. That is quite good way, though when you try to release the clay from the texture fade, it might crack. Because when we will freeze it, it depends how long you will keep it in the freezer. Right now, I'm looking for my little pot with cuticle oil because that's what I like to use. I like to use something greasy, and you have to be quite aware of your product because if you will use too much of the greasy product, then everything will just sleep inside of the mold. It will be too oily, too much. Oh, yeah, it's here. So I just have it in a little metal tin. Mine is, I believe, pineapple or something like that. I depotted it from the big pot because I will put the brush and then the clay, and I would prefer not to put anything in the oil that I use for cuticles and my face and stuff like that. Baby oil will work as well. And we need a brush, and we need to remember about closing the pot. We need a brush. I like the brush that is quite soft but dense at the same time. And right now I just dipped my brush into the oil, so it's very, very, very greasy. I will remove the excess, and then I will brush my whole mold to make sure that we get especially the valleys, especially the lowest points of the mold. Give me a second. I will close. I will give you a close up because we don't need such a big frame for that. It's better if you can see it here. You can use something if you plan to paint your impression, then you can use the oil that have a little bit tint to it. Then you will be able to see it in the mold. Mine is quite well conditioned, and this one is already a little bit greasy, a little bit because I use it all the time, and usually I will put the oil once and I can get up to 2-3 impressions without re-oiling my my mold, but I want it to go quite smooth and not so problematic with the one go, I would say. So yeah, so it's better to be safe than sorry. And whole mold is covered, and now we take our clay. Hello. Hi, Bella. If you want to pop in the studio, then you know the way. Hello, Nunu. Hi, Tama. Somebody says that they prefer to use the baby powder. Yeah, but baby powder will go very fast absorbed into the clay, and you cannot. It will get absorbed, and if you take your time, too much will absorb to the clay, and nothing will be left for you to have the impression. I really like the grease, especially with heavier clay, because that oil will get absorbed into clay as well, but it will get absorbed when I pull off my impression. When my clay is inside of the mold, it will not get absorbed because it will not dry. Clay absorbs the oil when it's drying, and you can work in the powder at any time. Um, Also, if you will not succeed with the first approach, with getting the impression in your clay, you can just knit it together, and it will not change the properties of your clay. And if you will need powder in, it will change the consistency of your clay, and it will be crumbly again. So my I do recommend using something greasy. I didn't succeed with doing that with any kind of baby powder, though I use baby powder for different purposes. I even have it here on my table, but I don't like to use it with my molds because it is a struggle, and I think it's up to personal preference. Okay, so I'm rolling my clay quite thinly. This one will not give me the full mold will not be filled with that little pancake. And I like the fact that this one is a little bit dry out, a little bit dry on the dry side. You can see that the edges are already cracking. It's not a big deal. You can add the moisture to it. I would prefer to do it after I have my impression. Okay, so when we have the flat pancake, we put our mold flat on the surface. And now it's quite important to not move the clay or the mold. And you will feel that when you start to add pressure to your clay, it is sliding inside of your mold. Okay, and we don't want it to slide too much or to add because I'm using the candle as my roller because I don't have the clay roller. If you have any kind of roller that will be not sticky, would not recommend the wooden one. It will be fine. I tried to put it in my big shirt and just roll it like that because I thought a lot of pressure, a good impression. No, no, it's too much pressure. And I like to feel it with my hands to make sure that I have the impression of all the little details. Okay, and on this side, in camera it's hard to catch, but in the real life, it's quite easy to see where you missed a spot. And now we will roll it on this side, but again, make sure that your mold will not shift on your clay. It's a little bit like stamping with the stamps in the clay. If you make a mistake, if you have a shaky hand, it will be visible on your impression. Now I try to add pressure without changing the position of my mold. It takes usually a couple tries, and more intricate the mold is and thinner the impression you want to have, more precision that will require. You can roll it on the piece of paper and clay will stick to the paper and it will be easier to release from the mold. But those thinner molds are quite flexible and it's quite easy to remove your impression. So, okay, I'm holding it in spot in case that I don't have enough of the texture when I lift it up. So we don't want any shift to happen. Give me 1 second. I will give you more light because from some kind of reason I don't have enough of the light today. And I can lift it up and you can see that I missed a couple spots like here. So I can just go back with my roller and again add some pressure. Make sure that the whole mold is filled in. Massage it. You can use your fingers and it will require a little bit of pressure and probably, couple tries. Like with everything, as soon you will get the grip of it, it will go way easier. Okay, let's see if my impression is better this time. Yes, it is, but I'm still not completely happy with it. So I need to flip over the whole thing. I knew that I should prep a smaller craft mat. With the other one, I will use the spare one, so then I can flip it this back and forward and press from the back and from the top. Okay, to make sure that all areas are nicely rolled inside. And let's see. This time, yeah, this time it's perfect. And we have our impression in the clay with all the details, exactly like I would have with resin, because I always thought that this kind of technique would be not possible with the clay, that it will be possible only with the resin. I will unstick the edge with my palette knife, and that is advantage of using clay over resin. I can just cut it with my knife and get rid of the excess, and I don't have to worry about it at all. I can just play with it and shape it to achieve different shapes, to fit different surfaces. Okay. So remember that it's clay, so you have to be a little bit gentle with it. Don't pull too hard, because if we will pull, then we will change the texture. So be just gentle with your clay, and it's quite thin. As you can see, it's similar thickness as I would get with resin. Okay, I will put it aside. Okay, I will put it aside. Just remember, on non-sticky surface, that would be the best option, because we will play with it in a second. And now I will use this one, and I will roll myself an extra silicone mat. Remove all the old clay, all the paint and glue from the surface, because then clay will not have the surface that it can grab to. I was doing those impressions on my table that is covered with the paper wallpaper, and you can see that in a lot of areas I have clay leftovers, because it likes to stick to the paper, especially when we add the pressure. Okay. Okay, does clay shrink when it dries? A little bit. A little bit, yes, but if you stick it to the surface, the whole surface of the clay, the whole back, if you cover the whole back with the glue, then adhere it to your object, then the shrinkage will be not so visible, because it is quite forgiving. It will adjust to the surface. Thus, is shrinking. All the clays will shrink a little bit, because The process of air drying is losing the moisture, and it comes with the price. If you don't want shrinkage, then you need to go with the polymer ones. They are, in my opinion, a little bit harder to work with. Okay, and my roller starts to be sticky, and I have some clay leftovers here. So that greasy brush that I use on my texture fade, I will just use it on my roller to make sure that clay will not stick to it. That soft one, fresh one from the package, it's much easier to roll. Okay. So I'm making quite flat and thin pancake, as you can see. Now we have to lift the pancake and try not to destroy the surface of, okay, that edge is too soft. So let's try from this one. Though my surface is non-sticky, as you can see, the clay will stick a little bit to it. Okay. To prevent it, you can cover the top layer of the clay also with a little bit of grease. Okay, we picked up a little bit of paint. Now again, inside, this way it will be visible better. Inside of my fade, and remember, it's already covered with the oil. You can also buy special mold release spray, but it will be basically the same thing as cooking spray. You can use cooking oil, anything. I really like the greasy ones. Lip balms, chopsticks, anything that is Vaseline will work as well. I just try to not use too much powder because it will definitely change the consistency, and it might cause some cracking, especially with the way that I like to use my clay. Okay, now to not move it, I will put my smaller non-stick mat here, and I will roll on one side. A lot of even pressure. If you have problems with your hands, with mobility, for example, then instead of adding a lot of pressure at once, just roll it a couple times. Or use something flat on surface and then something heavy and let it sit. I like to roll mine. Let's see how the impression is going. Okay, I still need a little bit pressure. So if I have smaller mat, I keep my mat with one hand and mold with the other to make sure that nothing will move. Because once it moves, you have to try again. Okay. Now let's go here. Let's go here. Let's make sure that you add all the pressure. It's easier to feel it with your fingers than it is with the roller. Okay, and again, no movement or whatsoever. Let's check. Still missing a couple bits here. It doesn't have to be perfect for the demo purpose, but I want to do the best job possible, because maybe actually I will use it right away. Okay. So checking the impression, checking. Ooh, it looks good. Yes, it does. Okay. Okay. Now I can lift it up and show you. See all the details, even those itsy bitsy Lady V signs, and it's moldable. and it's perfect to add the texture to your projects. So, you know, like you can of course leave it for a dry, and you can also leave the clay to dry in your mold. You can use the texture paste inside of the mold, wait for it to dry, and then use it like that, because then you will get that flexible surface. The advantage of using clay inside of the mold. Hello. Can I do it with big shot? Okay, you missed the part. Big shot have too much pressure. You might squeeze your clay too much. It depends if you have, because mine have the adjustment, and I can move rollers a little bit far apart. I would be scared that traditional big shot, the one that don't have any adjustment, it might require a little bit of fiddling, and you are risking smushing your mold inside, because that much pressure can smash your mold and destroy the pattern. So using the clay like that gives me the option of having my texture right here, right now. Even when it's cracked, like here, even when we have a crack, I can stick it together, and look how nice it will fit on the curved surface. We are not losing any detail, and we are not losing the shapes. It doesn't deshape itself. It will work exactly like the texture paste inside, but you don't have to wait. You just have to roll it. Usually it takes me like 10 minutes to get a couple of them. I will make my preps ahead and then work on my objects. You can use it on different surfaces, different objects. It will adjust to the shape really nicely, because I could adjust it to fit that armband. You just don't press it too hard when you are adhering it. I will show you on this example. So we will not use glue, because I don't want to glue anything right now. I just want to fit the shape. Okay, so I will just take my blade, hold it. Normally, if I want to cover the surface, I would put the glue on the surface, not on my clay. I'm trying to find where the edge of the box is. Okay, and now I can just slide my blade here. Okay, this part, we can use it. You can also just smash it and use it again and again and again. And even if something will not work out with the first, second, or third approach, you can smush it and use it again. If your clay is too crumbly, try to add a little bit water, maybe a little bit of glue. I like that easy option of using the clay that I already tested. If you will wait too long and your texture will start to dry, you will get a micro cracks. You can work it in with your fingers. So when I'm happy with my shape, I would just gently tap. It will not destroy the surface. And you can do the same thing with this one. Leave the whole texture. I like the fact that it's already divided. And I can just, okay, shaky hand, don't be shaky. I can just cut it apart like this, like this, like this. And I'm not using the sharp blade, it's just palette knife. I can cut it for nice smaller pieces. Okay, and now we want to lift it up. Okay, and again, we are not pulling super hard. I wanted to maintain the shape that it has. And with a little bit of glue, I can play with my textures as much as I want. The clay will beautifully combine itself with the previous layer, and you can play with the combining heavier clay with the light clay. They will combine with Cola Extra Forte, for example. That's one of my favorite glues. Something white glue that will dry quite fast. You can use the Mod Podge as well. This one was very, very fresh, so it's quite it adhered itself to my non-stick surface that I can start. Come on, just give me a bit. Okay, so why we are not pulling, I will show you here because it's easier. So when I pull, can you see what happens with the pattern? Instead of being nice and even, it starts to stretch out. If you don't mind it, then it's fine. With the metal, with that particular mold, I don't mind a little bit pulling, but with this one, I do, especially that I often join two pieces, and if you pull it and the shape will change, it will look weird, and it's easy to combine them seamlessly if you don't pull and don't change the shape of your clay. It takes a little bit of patience, and probably it's it always works better when nobody sees me. Somehow I think it's a curse of being live. Every time when you're alive, everything that could go wrong will go wrong. Okay, and the same as with this one. You can lift it up, and because this one is super fresh, then you can see how nice it will sit on the base. To have the perfect shape, I would have to adhere it with the glue, but because it's super softy, I can show you one more thing that to achieve that with resin, I have to warm it up quite a lot and use a lot of pressure with my finger. So on all the edges, you can just use your finger to round them up to have them nice and smooth. You can also sand them, and it will perfectly fit, okay, to the shape of your object. So like here, I'm gently pushing it inside, okay? And inside, you can also have the pattern. You just have to fiddle with it a little bit because the surface is smaller than outside. So fresh clay will be easier to mold like that. And look how nice it sits on the surface. And the same as with this one. I use that here on the box. The top is resin, but here, all those elements, it's clay. The same as legs and all the locks and all the other elements. The legs I made from the Alice mold, the one that have like the game pawns on it, checks, and the idea of making them into little feet. I stole it from Lady B herself. Okay, I showed you the clay. I told you everything about it. Now I will look at the comments, and I hope that will answer all the questions that you might have for the clay in the texture phase. And I'm spraying my clay, and I will leave that bowl over here because it's already starting to dry. Okay, let's look. Spread, yeah. Hello there. Hi, hello. Um, okay, let's see here. To smooth these fingers with a little bit of water. I don't like to use too much water because, okay, I will show you. I will show you why I don't like to use the water. Because now my finger is wet, and I will smooth the edge. Yeah. And yes, it's easier than just not using anything. But can you see how the texture is starting to be less sharp, a little bit more melted? Because adding the water to clay, again, it changes the clay properties. And if you use very thin clay, because that is quite thin, but not the thinnest I can go. With a little bit of practice, you can do it really, really thinly, and thinner you will go. When you will use the water, it will crack because you are changing the way that clay behaves, and especially if you are combining clay impression with the sculpting, you will get cracks and edges. If you use the glue underneath, a white glue, color extra forte, any of your favorite glues. Wait, I have to remove it before it will, because even without the glue, okay, you can see that it already started to adhere to my surface, and I will need that armband. I just wanted to have different surfaces. Okay, go here on the jar, be rounded. I don't like when anything that you will add, it will change it. It will be not so sharp. I will show you the difference between using water and not. Here I use the water to press my clay down, and you can see that the images are less sharp than here, and that was the same run, the same amount of clay. Exactly the same run, the same clay, the same thickness, because I just rolled one big pancake. And here where I just patted on the top, it looks much sharper, much more detailed than here, because water will just blur it a little bit. No worries, Bella. They always there was a lot of questions, and though I'm not officially on the team anymore, I'm still a vagabonder in my heart. Okay, I can't scroll much further to see who commented. So if I'm answering to the Facebook user, I will just put the comment on the screen. Hi, Olga. Hi, Olga. I scrolled to hi. I'm so glad that you are doing live in English for us, Olga. No worries. Always to your service. I think it's more convenient to just do it twice, once in English, once in Polish, because we don't lose the time for explaining, and we can also enjoy a banter a little bit. Okay, so both Sue and Craft Heaven, I already said that, but I will say it will shrink a little bit. I will leave, we will do the experiment, that experiment. Okay, I need something that I can put it on. So I will put, here I have pieces that I already cut out, and I will leave them till tomorrow. And tomorrow I will just make a fresh run, and I will make a picture of them next to each other, so you will see how much of the shrinkage we can expect. Okay. And you can see now when it's straightened, can you see the difference? This is the area that I use my wet finger, and this is the other part of the mold. Can you see how it went? I don't know how to describe it. I would say unsharp, a little bit less raised. If you don't add anything, any water, anything funny on top of your clay, it will maintain the shape just like resin would. Thank you. If you know that clay will come into contact with water and moisture, it also needs to be sealed with varnish. Yes, for sure, because every time when you remoisture the clay, it will become soft again. I usually paint my stuff. Acrylic paint is enough for, I would say, everyday use, because that jar, okay, I didn't finish the inside, but it was full of candy. I use it quite a lot, and I refill it with candy. That's the Polish candy, and I keep using it. Not always with completely dry hands, and nothing happens. It's covered with Stamperia Allegro colors, and it didn't remoisture itself. It was enough. I would, even if I would use sealer varnish, I would still not put the water directly on it. I would not put it in the dishwasher, for example, because it will fall apart. Okay. Okay. Hello for grease. Can I use it with big shot? Okay. Craft Heaven, I already said that the amount of oil that I used will get absorbed in the clay. It will not repel the paint. It will, as it's drying, it will get absorbed in the clay. But I use the oil on the brush. I would not pour the oil into my mold, because then it's slippery slow and it's too much oil. A little bit of practice will give you a really good feeling of how much you can use and to which extent it will absorb, and it takes the paint exactly like it would when it would be not greased, because here all the elements that I have on the box, I used oil in the mold, and then I just use Allegro acrylics. No primer, no varnish. The gold is also acrylic, and the color, as you can see, it went beautifully smooth. It doesn't rub off at all, and it covers evenly. So trust me, a little bit of practice will give you a nice feeling. Being live always, because everything to misbehave. Yep, sure. Once a vagabonder, always a vagabonder. Yeah, that's true. Great things to do with clay, so true. Great tutorial. Oh, thank you, Tama. Actually, it's not a tutorial, it's a very extended answer for the question that was in the group. Okay, I will wrap myself up because the dinner is calling my name. And if you watch us on YouTube, check Belinda's Creative Inspirations for Everyone on Facebook, because it's an awesome group and everyone are sharing beautiful makes and amazing tips. So that was clay in the texture impression. How they called? I call them texture fades, but they are actually called texture impression modeling mold. Very, very, very long name. So yeah, thanks everyone. Oh, thank you. It will be awesome, awesome, Lina. And yeah, I will leave the live stream in the group. I think there will be an option of it not being deleted. If you will have any following up questions or requests, I think we can repeat that experience, and maybe I can convince Belinda to um, uh, to uh, to do one with me, and we can have some fun. Okay, I'm I'm disappearing. Have a nice day, evening, night for all of you, no matter where you are, and let's keep vagabonding together. See you at the next one. Bye.